Welcome back to That's So Vegas. I'm Christina Keller, and if you were here the first segment, you know we're having a lot of fun with Mark Gendel and the lovely 2Llynda Moore.
Congratulations.
Yay! I said everything right.
Spell that now.
Now I will never forget it, I promise.
Oh.
But I've done it for years, so it's just maybe a slip of the tongue or a twist of the lip or
Yeah,
something.
of course.
We were talking about the backgrounds of these two wonderful, most just beloved Las Vegas entertainers. 2Llynda, former Miss Tennessee, you could still be Miss Tennessee, comes from a Nashville background, and Mark is from Canada, and you were doing a lot of recording in Toronto.
Yeah, we left it at recording in Toronto, and then having learned a lot of stuff in the recording studio, I thought, I want to learn how to do this for myself, and I went back to the music part, put a band together, I wrote a lot of material, and decided that I really wanted to hone my songwriting, and I knew Nashville would be the place to do that. So that was my next move. And that's where 2Llynda and I met. I had, fast forward 2 years, I had a band that got signed to Capitol and a second album for Warner Brothers. And
Wow.
we were rehearsing in the same venue. And she was signed with CBS Records. So I guess between the two of us, we've been on every major label.
That's good.
Yeah,
Great,
I never thought of
portfolio.
that. I never really thought of that.
But your love's a guitar, right?
It
I'm not
really
sure.
is,
Yeah,
and
So-
recording and anything media. This is fun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so that's where we met. Then we went off to New York, pick up New York.
you have New York
Yes.
stories like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, well, do you want me to move to New York? I
Yeah,
mean, not now,
well.
literally.
Yes, I thought. Although it's a cute little backstory how he slipped his business card to you. You were in the lobby at the
That's
same
right, yeah.
building, and so it wasn't by accident; it was by design.
No, I can tell you a little bit more about that. Our drummer happened to know 2Llynda, and he comes back into the rehearsal room and goes, 2Llynda Moore's out there at the reception area. And I'll go, who's 2Llynda Moore? He says, oh my God, she's Bob Moore's daughter. She was Miss Tennessee. And I'm going, I need a break. So I kind of had to do it. And at that moment, I became a producer. And here, little girl, why don't we get in the studio? So, yeah.
Well, it was a match made in Tennessee
Yeah.
heaven. I know that
Apparently.
because I've heard you before.
In hillbilly
well, then,
heaven.
yeah, I like that too, girl. Totally. So you spent 2 years in New York doing what you do, and then
Actually,
2 years in Tennessee, and then you went to New York.
That's
So
right.
Enter New York.
Well, we became songwriting partners in
Oh, great.
Nashville,
Uh-huh.
and we wrote a couple things together and recorded them in the studio. A friend of ours loaned us their studio from midnight until 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And we went in and did that and made a couple demos. But when we make demos, they're really records, and because of his
Wow,
great
listen to you,
his
huh?
great background.
Yes.
Because his great engineering background.
Yes.
And I'm a studio. I grew up around studios, as you know.
And naked
But-
people in swimming pools. It's all good. For those of you who missed the first segment.
we've neglected that part of the career, though, as I think
And,
about
yeah,
it.
this is unedited. So carry on. Sorry.
His band was still together at the time, and I wanted to go ahead and pitch the recordings in New York. So I sold everything I had and
We've all done that,
Put $2,000 in my pocket, sold my car, all my furniture in my house, and I took a keyboard and $2,000, moved up to New York City, and I don't want to go into a long story, but this is really a fun story.
Okay, great.
Was living on the 5th floor of an apartment at 55th and Broadway with a couple of Australian TV cameramen.
How fun is
Yeah.
that?
They work for the news network. Yeah.
Love the men from down under.
Yeah, they were
That's
adorable.
right. Thunder.
Anyway, we shared a 3-bedroom apartment, and so I was cleaning my room, and I opened up my window and shook out a blanket, and I didn't know that there were two thin blankets stuck together.
Okay.
So when I was shaking out the blanket, one of them came loose and started flying down the street and literally landed on this guy's head. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
And he looks up and he goes, I've got your blanket. And so I said, I'll be down. And I come down, and long story short, it was someone in the music business. And this is a true story, I promise.
Oh.
Somebody in the music business, and and I said, oh, I just moved here, and where are you from? And long story short, you got to meet my father. And here's my phone number. So the next day I went and met his father, who knew some very interesting people. And within a month, I was signed to Warner Publishing
Amazing.
as a songwriter with a publishing songwriting deal.
Well, from shaking a blanket, that literally this guy, my God
Yeah.
knows what the guy was thinking when his
Yeah.
blanket fell on his
Yeah.
head. But
So that's the trick. You go to
that's-
New York, get blankets,
Yeah,
stump them off the
stump 'em off
balcony. It's all
and
good from
There
there.
you go.
Right. So he moved up soon after that because his band I don't know what happened at that time. You
Well,
might
I was
tell
pitching
about
it, and I saw what was going on here as a little
In
little
Europe.
bit more interesting, you know.
Right.
And we went through quite a prolific period where we actually had a band plus other stuff that we were pitching to other people, and out of that period we had stuff placed in TV, some film stuff,
Right.
actually other artists cutting stuff, and so it was a very nice period.
Yeah,
So
so-
then
Yeah.
you moved to New York with, and
Yeah.
and you guys got back together. You were never apart, but
Yeah,
you,
we were constantly in touch. But
Right.
he came up and we just really wrote and recorded, and we had a little studio on the corner of 55th and Broadway
Amazing.
in that room
Uh-huh.
that I was telling you about, where the blanket got shook out.
shaken, whatever.
Got shook.
It got
But
shook.
yeah, but anyway, so we had a great time in New York. We lived there for about 8 years.
And aside from the writing, I think we played every club in
Oh,
New York,
fun.
and
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really fun because we had people like Kiss were coming out to see us.
Kiss?
Eric Carr would come out and see us a lot. It was really
I bet that was really everybody who's done a New York experience. You either come away with something really good or really bad. But
a lot of experience is what we
lot of
came
it,
with.
yeah.
And a lot of the guys that we worked with are really doing well. I mean, our bass player ended up with Lenny Kravitz,
Yeah.
and
Oh, nice.
Tal Bergman was playing with Joe Bonamassa.
But you
right
guys
now.
are independent entrepreneurs. I know that. So what
That's
brought
right.
you out west? I mean, what was the idea? Whose idea was it to come to the fabulous Las Vegas Strip?
Well, we made a video. We moved back to Nashville after being in New York.
Okay.
And we put a duo act together just to have some fun, really.
Okay.
And we went out and played, and we thought, hey, let's videotape this, and we did. And then we thought, it'd be fun to go out to Vegas for the weekend. Let's send a video out and see if anybody would want to let us play while we're
Uh-huh.
there. And the rest is history.
Yeah,
But
really.
go
We
ahead.
Chuck Walters from Mandalay Bay saw our video. He said, "Come on out," and so we came out. He said that really, and we did a whole week there. And he said, "Boy, that went really well. Come out again." And so,
Roughly what year was that?
2006 or is it 4?
I think
I'm trying to
four-
remember.
4 or
So
six.
I
Yeah,
met you
2004.
shortly after.
Yeah.
That, well, wait a minute.
It
Didn't
is
I meet you guys
2004.
at Sunset Station way before Rocky?
I believe so.
It was a birthday. Now you sang happy birthday to my friend. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
go. Okay. So great. Yeah. And then it was the Las Vegas Hilton,
Right.
where we
Right.
went every weekend because you
Right.
guys are just.
Well,
so
the thing that
wonderful.
got us to move, Chuck said, if you, we said, this is really neat. If we moved out here, would we have a regular gig? And he said, yeah. So that's really prompted
I
the
was
move.
yeah, and I was thinking that if I recall correctly, at that point in Vegas, there were a lot of lounge acts that was becoming more
Yeah.
popular. So your timing was really good on that.
Yeah.
So how do you manage? I know that you're booked left and right. You're again there at the Rampart, and I think you're there this weekend, aren't you? Or,
We are. This
We
week.
are.
Oh, gosh, what night?
Friday and Saturday.
Let me
6:30 to
try
10:30.
Get out there. I
Yeah.
just really miss you guys, and I miss your energy.
Hey, we got dinner covered if you want to come out. I'm not kidding.
Could I bring a date?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Bring a
Okay.
date. We got buffets and all that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I could use my fix, So, you also, I know, because every New Year's you couldn't come to my parties because you go to China. How did that happen? Tell us about that, because I
Oops.
think that's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Well, we
Macau.
performed there. Yeah.
Yes.
We performed there first
Uh-huh.
before we got
We used
into
to
the
do
shoe business.
there's a number
Right.
of years where we'd end up in Hong Kong for New Year's.
Right.
So that's how we started doing that. Yeah.
Because a booking agent came into Mandalay Bay and
Uh-huh.
saw us and said, "You're the perfect act for New Year's Eve in Hong Kong. Would you want to do it?" And of course, we want to do it.
How fun was that?
yeah,
I mean,
so
you've done it
It's
quite a
great.
few
for
times.
8 years in a
haven't
row. I mean, it was an amazing gig. They flew us over and we performed on just one night, New Year's Eve. But got to stay in the hotel for a week, and it was really interesting and fun. So we became rather comfortable going to China.
you? That's awesome, which is
A good segue.
a good segue into your boots.
Yeah.
And again, I love it when I see things like this, how just things seem to turn out to be part of a pattern, a destiny, so to speak, like the blanket falling from the window. And then you having a rudimentary knowledge of China, because again, we've mentioned that you're both entrepreneurs, you have the guitars, and Linda's idea for boots, which you have manufactured in China. Is that where they're manufactured?
Yes.
Okay,
they
we'll
have
talk-
To,
yeah.
Pretty much have to be. Yeah.
We'll definitely talk boots and guitars when we get back. We've got to cut to a break here. And again, thank you to the Red Roof Inn on Paradise, close to the airport and the Strip, for sponsoring this show. And they're good, friendly people there. And free Wi-Fi and free continental breakfast. We'll be right back. Don't go away.